effort, process, laser focus.
Oh! Oh my God!
Come at me. And the knee brings down a low.
Turn it on here, and there you go.
There's no safe space within the UFC octagon ring. From flying knees to swift elbows and highlight reel head kicks, there are a plethora of ways to send a fighter into the plane of violent tranquility. It's best to watch from the comfort of your home as facial bones get broken, livers get destroyed, and brain matter gets blended with the confines of the skull. Find a safe spot as we bring you the scariest knockouts ever seen in MMA history. Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping. Dan Henderson was perhaps one of the most seasoned MMA fighters to compete in the UFC. His career began in the 90s, and his ability to remain consistent and lethal despite the influences of Father Time is nothing short of spectacular. His titles include the UFC 17 middleweight champion, Strikeforce light heavyweight champion, and many others. But the one thing he's mostly remembered for is this nasty knockout against Michael Bisping. Right at the ringing of the bell, Henderson maintained the pressure on Bisping, releasing epic right hands that would have deactivated brain activity in most active fighters at the time. The beginning of the demise of Bisping all started with Hendo releasing a barrage of blows, nearly dropping him. As the second round rolled in, Henderson charged like a bull that saw red. Want to see some combination work? Henderson's got you covered. With an inside leg kick, straight left punch to the solar plex, followed by his bread and butter, the Hendo overhead right, Dan sent Bisping's soul to a place of eternal slumber. For good measure, Henderson followed up with this vicious diving punch connecting to the head of Bisping's lifeless body, as if he wanted to ensure his opponent was indeed soulless. The damage done from the diving strike undoubtedly caused disruption to the brain of Bisping. It was as if his body was in stall mode, and even his instinctive senses had no grasp as to what his body was experiencing. Damn, Hendo, this is MMA, but would it have killed you to show a little more restraint? Well, anyway, let's dive into this next disrespectful knockout. Kevin Lee versus Gregor Gillespie. Kevin Lee, aka the Motown Phenom, made his debut in the MMA world on February 2014. His first fight was a total flop, but he would quickly pick up the pace and pile up the win streaks. However, his most noteworthy accomplishment was during his epic showdown with Gillespie in UFC 244. This fight was the most suspenseful match of the event. Both guys fought with restraint, feeling out each other's fight tendencies for the bulk of the bout. After 2 minutes elapsed, not a single takedown attempt occurred. No one had even landed a serious, significant strike. But then, just when the crowd began to get anxious about the lack of carnage, it happened, and Gillespie tasted the kick from hell that disrupted his central nervous system. Kevin softened up Gillespie beautifully, striking him with a clean hook and a body shot so loud it echoed throughout the arena. Then, with the disruption of the combo, Gillespie attempted to fire a wildly thrown left, with which Kevin rewarded his carelessness with a solid hook to the chin, followed by a hellacious left high kick straight to the jaw. It was lights out for Gillespie as he fell violently, as if he had been put to rest by The Undertaker. Stretched out on the canvas as his body was left desperately attempting to return online. Of course, Kevin paid his respects to the dead by walking off carelessly with no regard for his victim. Edson Barboza versus Terry Edom. Edson Barboza is a fighter who became quite reputable for his fight-ending spinning kicks. Witnessing both his impressive physique and his aggressive fight nature inside the octagon, you would be shocked to learn that he was actually born prematurely. But nothing was premature about the devastating knockout he delivered to Terry Edom. Barboza's match with Edom was entirely eventful, right from the start. Both fighters left everything in the octagon, with the fight filled with pristine wrestling and incredible strike exchanges. Barboza would outwork Edom during the second and third rounds, picking apart the British fighter. And then, unexpectedly, without warning, he unsheathed the spirit weapon, instantly dropping Edom to the canvas.
Take a chance and risk getting knocked out! Oh my God! Wow! Wow! It is all over!
The force of Barboza's spinning wheel kick, followed by the ruthless impact of his skull to the canvas, was completely vicious. His body was left frozen from the aftermath, and damn, the positioning of his arms as he lay frozen seemed to resemble a signing motion, as if he was signing the check for knockout of the night for the guy that sent him to the shadow realm. Undoubtedly, the damage to his brain had been done, and he lost brain cells he could never get back again. But at least he witnessed one of the most spectacular spinning wheel kick knockouts ever to be performed in the UFC firsthand. Tank Abbott versus Steve Nelmark. Tank Abbott is one man who's always been an icon right from his early days in the MMA. He is undoubtedly the most ruthless fighter in MMA history. It might interest you to know that Abbott's merciless fighting style was picked up during the days he spent brawling in the streets and bars of California. He rarely lost a street fight or a brawl, and he brought the same destruction to the UFC. If there was ever a day someone died during a UFC fight, it had to be the day Abbott fought Nelmark. Just the first push after the bell rang, and you could tell things weren't going to end well for Nelmark. Before anyone knew what was happening, Abbott released several machine gun blows, forcing Nelmark to scamper around the ring for safety helplessly. But a safe haven was nowhere to be found. Twilight set in for Nelmark when Tank Abbott released the death blow, crippling his opponent and forcing his body to compress like a child's slinky against the fence.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. A knockout. Oh, my. Off the fence.
There's one reason why you don't pick a fight with that guy at the club, and it's the same reason why it takes balls to be a heavyweight fighter. Because when the shit hits the fan, you are always at risk of losing consciousness in violent fashion. Rashad Evans versus Chuck Liddell. Rashad Anton Evans, the 205-pound jiu-jitsu black belt, has made quite a mark in the UFC. With his wrestling-style jiu-jitsu combination, the Suga rose to become the light heavyweight champion. Anton has always been a champion, even in his early days as a high school wrestler. His impressive track record earned him a spot in the UFC Hall of Fame. But nothing compares to how impressive this knockout was against Chuck Liddell. Both fighters began the fight like two demons fighting in a hellish pit. Rashad would find success landing clean strikes that produced the crackling sounds MMA fans crave. Chuck did not land as successfully given the incredible elusiveness and head movement of Suga Rashad. After repetitive failed attempts by Liddell to land any significant damage on Evans, Suga grew tired of toying with his opponent, throwing a mean overhead right and leaving Chuck Liddell unconscious.
Oh, big uppercut. He's down. He's down. Rashad Evans has knocked out Chuck Liddell.
Here at MMA Elite, we pride ourselves on the production of high-quality MMA content. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And as always, see you in the next one.